Hi, this is John from Sharp Mountain Games, and today I'm really excited to show you my setup for solo role-playing, all the gear that I use, and I hope that it'll give you some ideas for your own solo journey, and we'll talk about it right after the intro. Hi folks, and today we're going to take a look at only gear, all the gear and setup that I use for solo role-playing. To hopefully give you some ideas, and then maybe you'll give me some ideas in the comments. So the first thing you're going to need is a rule set. Now, you can buy a solo RPG, and I'm sure there's many fine ones out there, but I can't really make a recommendation because I don't use them. My recommendation, or what I do, is I use rules that I already own. And you can see I just have two here that I picked out. Now, I play a lighter version of Starships and Spacemen for solo. I have done some fantasy stuff using Basic Fantasy. Those are all good choices. I'm sure there's many other ones. Because for solo role-playing, I think really what I like is a streamlined system. Now, I'll tell you, I solo role-played through the Dragons of Stormwreck Isle, which is a 5e box set. And I used the 4 pre-gens in the box, and I tried to play it rules as written. So I was constantly flipping through the rule book and all that. And it was okay. And I certainly learned a lot about lower level 5e. But let me tell you, it really felt like homework. Now, obviously, you should play what you want. And if you want a really robust system, that's fine. But if that's the case, what you might want to do is consider using just maybe one major character and a sidekick. Because you really want to spend your time relaxing, rolling dice, and sort of watching a story unfold based on the dice rolls. You don't want to really be fighting with a bloated rule set. And I have to say, I think 5e is a little bit bloated. I might also suggest is play something different. If you usually play fantasy, and let's be honest, fantasy kind of dominates this hobby, I think it's a really good chance to branch out and try something different like science fiction or maybe superheroes. Oh, and you'll also need an adventure. Now, you can use a pre-written adventure. And one thing that I would strongly suggest, like I said with the Dragons of Stormwreck Isle, it's kind of a starter set, or many books come with a starter adventure right there in the back. And those are just great ones to get started for solo role-playing. However, a lot of times I don't even use a pre-written adventure. Maybe I'll just have an idea and I'll kind of roll with that and just write it down as I go. Now, the next thing you'll need is your characters. And you can do your characters however you like. So, for instance, here's a character sheet, pretty standard. This is from a recent game of Mothership that I was fortunate enough to get to play in. For my homebrew rules, I use something much lighter, so I can use character cards. Now, the thing about having the cards and the character sheets, it's good and bad. One thing that's good is if you use individual initiative, of course, you can just move them around however you want. But the downside of it is more stuff that you have to have at your disposal. So it's much better if you have a desk or a kitchen table or someplace where you can leave all this stuff out or you can spread it out. Now, what I do, and I'm going to show you that right now in my notebook that we're going to talk about next, since I'm using a much more streamlined system, I can put all the characters right here in this notebook. So I usually use about 3 to 4 characters. And you can see I just use tape to make a little tab. And I have all their stats here. Now, obviously, I'm playing a very streamlined system, or for a lot of old school systems, you could easily get away with something like this, where you could have your HP, your armor class, whatever your main bonus is, any special things. And then the tape tab there helps me flip back and forth when I need to find it during play. You might say, oh, I don't want to do all that flipping and all that. Well, but what's nice is now this can stay with me wherever I'm at. If somebody's at the kitchen table or somebody's at the dining room table and I don't have room to play there, I can just sit on the sofa. I could sit outside and play this. Heck, with a dice rolling app, I could take this on an airplane. Can you imagine how much fun that would be, passing some time on an airplane doing this? Nobody has to know what you're doing. So that's the way I would do character sheets. I would put them right in the notebook if you can. If you prefer to have them loose and you have the room to spread them out, that's certainly a viable option. Now let's talk about the notebook. And in all honesty, you don't really need this. If you want something a little more informal and you just want to have some scrap paper, to keep track of hit points or things like that or conditions, you certainly can do that. But I was given this nice little notebook for Father's Day, so I may as well use it. And you already saw how I do the characters. If the characters level up or if somebody were to die or move on, I just recopy them later on in the notebook and move the tape tab. Now, you'll see here I hope you can see, that I just use bullet points. I do try to sort of journal as I do it, but it's not real formal. I'm not writing full paragraphs. I don't think there's any need for that. A lot of times I'll either underline or put a little box around the character's name, who's ever doing that. And sometimes I'll even do little sketches or little maps if I need them. I tend to play mostly theater of the mind, not super tactical, but if you're playing something that's a little more tactical, you could always just draw a quick little sketch. I think it helps. So what's nice is you get a real record of what you're doing as you're playing. And I've even been able to use this then. I go back and I can use these bullet points because they're quick to find. And I could use this to write up an adventure to actually use for a face-to-face or an online game, with other people. So it's really great to have the record. But again, you don't need to do that if you don't want to. You could just do it on scrap paper. I personally find the idea that, I'm filling out this notebook and I'm doing this. It's almost like journaling. It really adds to the process. And then I usually keep track. I don't know if you could see here, like if there's going to be a combat, I just keep track of the hit points down here, sometimes in the body, depending on what I'm doing. And if you're playing something really light, a lot of times you can just make up some stats for your, like I have the robots here, make up some stats for your enemies on the fly, or you could just jot them down from your monster book as you need to. So I really like a notebook. I just think it's a great way to keep a record, but, do what works for you. Now let's talk about dice. I happen to have this little dice tower. It was given to me by my friend David. Hey there, David. And it's really, really convenient. But you don't need it. But let me talk about why it's convenient. Because all the dice stay put. So when I roll the dice, and what's really great is I can let's roll 6 at once. Isn't that satisfying, that sound? It's just so satisfying. Hear them all clack, clack, clack at once. But it keeps everything contained. But you don't need to spend money on a dice tower if you don't want to. You could easily get by if you want to use a little dice cup, shake them up and dump them on the table, or even better, if you have like a box lid, that would be great because then you could keep all your dice there, your dice cup if you want one, and you don't need a dice cup. You can just get a plastic cup from the kitchen. We all have a million of them. And you might even be able to put your notebook right in the box if it's a small enough notebook. So you would have everything, all your stuff other than maybe your rule book or an adventure book all together. Now, one thing I do with dice, and I don't know that it's unique to me, but I hope that you like it, and I hope that you consider it, is I use a different color dice for each character, and I use the rainbow. So Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow. I don't have orange in here, yellow, green, blue, and you could have violet or, orange if you need it. Again, I say stick to 2 or 3 characters. And this way, okay, red is always my science officer. Yellow, in this case, is the engineer. Green is the Dr. Heath, is the doctor. And that way I know exactly, and I've linked these characters. It's the order that they're in the notebook. And I would suggest also, this is kind of an aside, but name your characters. Absolutely name your characters. It helps you keep track of things, and I just think it's even more fun. And in fact, sometimes it might even help you, as you're running through something. For example, my character, Commander Craig, she's had a lot of bad rolls lately. And what I'm thinking is, in the next adventure, she's going to be given some, I don't want to say a way to redeem herself, but a way to try and hopefully have some successes. So it's helped me in a way, a surprising way, to think about the personality of these characters. If you were doing fiction writing, either for fun or if you're intending to publish it, you'd definitely name your characters. You wouldn't just say, the doctor or the scientist or the warrior or whatever. So definitely consider naming your characters. And if you can get these dice pretty cheaply. These 6-sided dice, you can get like 100 for a few dollars on Amazon. What's really great there is if you want to, you can even roll the damage all at once, either in your dice tower or if you have, like I said, just a box lid is fine. I don't want people to spend money on things they don't have to. But in that way, combat plays so quickly. I run side initiative. So when I do this, boom, I can see what all 4 of my characters, whether they hit or didn't hit, with one dice roll in just a few seconds. And then for the bad guys, I usually use different color dice just to keep it straight, but you don't have to. And one thing you will find is combats run a lot faster with this or a box lid or something where you're rolling all the dice at once and maybe using individual initiative. You don't have that combat slog that's so prevalent to some other editions, one that I won't name. Now, the last thing to talk about, and this is a question, and this is going to be a personal taste, is miniatures. I'm sure a lot of us have little miniatures, little figures that we really like, and we might want to use, or a grid or a battle map. I don't think it's necessary. I tend to play theater of the mind. If I need something at all tactical, I may just draw a quick little sketch in the notebook. The same as if you were playing around a table, you might just do a quick little sketch there. But if you like your miniatures and you want to set them up and you want to draw a little room and that makes it more fun for you, absolutely, go ahead and do that. And a really cheap, easy way to get a grid is if you have a checkerboard, which I'm sure many, many of us have somewhere in our, with the toys or the games or all that. And you have your grid right there, and you can just, mark. You don't have to mark on it, but you can just figure out where the walls are and things like that, even little scraps of paper or little blocks of wood. So miniatures are something that I do not use in my solo role play, but absolutely, go right ahead if you want to. If you don't have miniatures, you could always just use dice to mark off who's where if you want to do something like that, or pennies or dimes or something like that. So just a quick little summary, this is all I use. My notebook, and obviously you need a pen or pencil, a rule set, and maybe the adventure if you're using a pre-written adventure. And I have my dice and my little dice tower here. Don't have a dice tower? Don't spend any money. Grab yourself a box lid or a little Tupperware container, and you're good to go. So let's wrap up with a question. What do you do differently? What gear or setup works for you, or maybe what did I miss in this video? Share it with us down below in the comments, and also please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again real soon. So here at Sharp Mountain Games, we have a few adventures in print, such as the Star Mermaid, the Dwarven Pickup Truck, and the Sky Tree, and you can check those out at Amazon, Lulu, and drivethrurpg. Also over on drivethrurpg, we have a number of other adventures and character classes, and even some stock art. On Roll20, we have some map packs and character cards, so you can check those out if you're interested. And as always, please like and subscribe, and we hope to see you again real soon.